Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another morning here at the Damage Report. A morning following a great day in the news. So what I want to talk to you about is a couple of different updates involving coronavirus. We've been doing a lot of coverage on the show recently, but on today's show, we just have so much from Super Tuesday that I want to make sure that you get this information, but unfortunately it doesn't fit on there. Dr. Hades, thank you very much. Monitor Hero, I will try to give you uplifting news, but not right now. I don't have it, unfortunately. So, what I wanted you to know is there was a coronavirus briefing that was done with Mike Pence. This was yesterday, and you might wonder, wait, I didn't see any video that came out of this coronavirus briefing, and there's a reason for that. It's because members of the media were not allowed to record video or audio at a press briefing with the vice president who's in charge of the coronavirus response. And yeah, that's unprecedented. So as Linda Mitchell is saying, pictures only, that's true. I would have put some pressure on that policy and said, oh, I can take a picture, I can take a still photo. Well, I want to do burst. Can I do 6 shots? Like, can I do 30 shots a second, maybe? That's probably what I would have done. But no, they did not allow any audio video to be recorded. What is the explanation for that? I don't know. Nobody seems to understand why. By the way, why after last week vowing to be aggressively transparent, they would have a press briefing where the media is there. The media can report about it. They can quote people, but they can't record it. I have a theory. I do have a theory about why they did that I will get to in just a second, but Jim Acosta was quoted about this as saying, I asked Pence why the coronavirus briefing is off camera today. He said he believes the briefing will be back on camera tomorrow, which is not an explanation as to why it was off camera today. Acosta noted that the closest thing to an explanation we got was when Pence said Trump was on camera a bunch today. Again, not an explanation. The fact that a different person was on camera about different things that day is not an explanation for why you were not allowed to be recorded today. That doesn't make any sense. And chief photographer of Obama during his time in the White House, Pete Souza, who you've probably heard a lot about over the past few years, says he can't ever remember a time when the VP or POTUS spoke in the White House press briefing room and video and audio was prohibited. With that said, do you want my theory about why? Because at virtually every single one of these briefings that we've had, they've said something incredibly stupid. Sometimes slap someone in the face with a piece of paper. Generally, Trump has said something insane. Now, at this particular one, where it's just VP Pence, I don't know. I don't get it. But let's talk about one or two of the recent things that Trump has said. So at a meeting today with airline executives, Trump was quoted as saying, I haven't touched my face in weeks. I miss it. It's a ridiculous thing to say. Also, during the meeting, there's all these photos of him like rubbing his eyes and stuff like that. But that's just that's a Trump joke or whatever. He also said this. You might have seen this video going around from the past 2 days. He was meeting with a bunch of doctors. One in particular was Leonard Schleifer, CEO of the biotechnology company Regeneron, who Trump asked, but the same vaccine could not work. You take a solid flu vaccine. You don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona? And Schleifer said, no. And Dr. Tony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and a member of the Trump task force on coronavirus said, no, probably not. No, because that's not how vaccines work at all. So there's a few layers of my frustration with that statement. One, that he doesn't know how specific vaccines are, that the flu vaccine, for instance, generally targets multiple strains depending on the prevalence of that strain in any given year. And it's not just like medicine for everything. But okay, fine. Vaccines are complicated. I get that. But what I love about it, too, is that he would ask it in public, I guess. Look, to some extent, maybe that's a thing of like, hey, look at the childlike curiosity. This person who asked a question without knowing how stupid it is in full view of cameras. But the third is, so he's being briefed about the development of the vaccine. He's surrounded by doctors, people on the task force, people who are working to develop the vaccine. and Donald Trump, who understandably doesn't know much about vaccines. I say understandably because most people don't. It's complicated. There's no reason for most people to. He has an idea in his head, which is, let's just use the flu vaccine. And in a room full of, I understand that I coughed, everybody. Well, I'll get to LA and coronavirus. I don't think I have it. In a room full of doctors and experts on vaccines, he thinks, why not just use the flu vaccine? And he drops it on them, thinking that there is a chance that that would work, and that if it would work, they hadn't thought of it. That he is giving these vaccine experts ideas. Like, he thought there was a 5% chance that all the doctors' jaws would just drop, and they'd say, dear God, I think Donnie's got it. Like, when you're surrounded by experts, you don't have to be an expert. Obviously, most people aren't experts. Guys, I'm not sick. I'm just coughing because I just woke up and all that, and I've been sick for my whole life. I'm totally fine. Don't worry. That you have to have a little bit of, like, humility in the face of expertise. I know he has less than anyone, but to think that you're going to drop knowledge on all of these people when you don't even know what a vaccine is just insane. And he's in charge. He is in charge. He's apparently putting pressure on these companies to develop a vaccine, not because we need to get the vaccine as soon as possible. He's saying specifically, we have to get the vaccine before the election. Your life is worth something, potentially, if it translates into votes. That's what I'm getting out of this. So really fast, I did want to let you know, and I'm less comfortable giving you this news update now, after you guys have been freaking out over the cough that I just did, is that when I woke up this morning, I saw that there had been 2 cases of coronavirus in Los Angeles County. And by the time I got to work, there were 6 cases of coronavirus in Los Angeles County. And I think I got the actual and the number we're at. I think we're at 118 nationally right now. Let's see if I can get that. 106 cases. 6 people have now died. I don't know if that 106 includes the 6 LA County ones, but yeah, it's here as well, as it is in many, many parts of both the country and the world. And we're hoping at this point that those doctors in the room will be given the resources and the freedom to do what they've trained their lives to do, which is to develop and deploy a vaccine for this. Hopefully, Trump and the government will get out of their way. And you know what would be really nice is making the funds available so that everyone has access to the treatment, to the screening, and to the vaccine at the end of the day. Probably is not going to happen. But it would be nice, especially as it begins to spread in LA. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes. I'm just going to talk for another minute or two. I did want to let you know that not only is this JR Wednesday, so JR Jackson is going to be joining me in studio. We're going to be breaking down Super Tuesday a little bit. Mostly, the field has winnowed. We're going to be talking about that. And what's next for one of the candidates that hasn't yet dropped out. We've also got a little bit of good news coming out of that election. Thank you, Patrick Nelson. Very nice of you. And I will keep my nose to the grindstone. That's a message almost brought to you by Ken Klippenstein. But did you know that joining us on the show for the first time for 2 blocks, Benjamin Dixon. So Benjamin Dixon did individually as much as anyone to educate people about who Mike Bloomberg actually was. Some of the eventual attacks that brought him down might not have come about if not for his research. So he's going to be joining us on the show to talk about both Mike Bloomberg dropping out, but also Joe Biden and where the race is going to go from here. He's going to give us his reaction to Super Tuesday and what's going to happen from here on out. So that should be awesome. Laura Shin asked, John, where did you get your tie from last night? So that tie, that's the first time I've ever worn it because that tie was a going away present from Dan, both Dan the intern, Dan from the internet. You've probably seen him on the Young Turks. He has unfortunately he's moved on to a different position, but he gave me that tie as a going away present. It was very nice of him. I believe it's from Express if you're looking for it. JR's tie similarly was also from the same place. It was a present from Dana. It was a very nice gesture of his, and I wish him all luck. He used to produce for the Damage Report. We lose everyone here at the Damage Report. Okay, so Mel Diablo says, John, is there still hope for Bernie? And Dove Calderwood says, should we give up hope on Bernie? No, definitely not. So by the way, the gap, we don't know what the final gap is going to be. Right now, it's like 60 delegates, but California isn't fully counted. So God only, it might be very, very narrow. If you go on my Twitter, I tweeted out, I went back to Super Tuesday 2016, the day after, I should say, Mediocre Wednesday. And I looked, how is this delegate lead being presented? And so I screenshotted it and I posted it. And you know what you saw? Hillary Clinton had a like 700 delegate lead. Now, the vast, vast majority of that was superdelegates, but that's how they were presenting it. And so it's going to be more narrow, far more narrow, considering the situation with superdelegates. But even just in terms of actual delegates, this is a narrower race than it was with Hillary Clinton. And look, have things gotten much worse for Bernie than they were? Thank you, Patrick. That's very nice of you. Than they were a week ago? 100%. If somebody tells you otherwise, they're simply not being honest, or they're not seeing what's happening. But Joe Biden is exactly the same candidate that he was a week ago. He wasn't enthusing people a week ago. People weren't passionate about him a month ago. And yes, some of them now have backed him because the candidate they used to back has told them to. They're hearing from everyone that he's suddenly super electable. But in a week or two, they're going to see him on the debate stage with Bernie Sanders, and they're going to have thrust into their face undeniably who Joe Biden is and what he would be as a candidate against Donald Trump. And that's not going to benefit Joe Biden. Now, unfortunately, we are going to have another round of primaries before that next debate, which is really unfortunate. We've got like 4 or 5 states that are going to be voting next Tuesday, but it is going to come. And so we're going to see what happens. Doctor says Tulsi qualified for the debate. Do you think she can deliver a parting shot to Biden? I don't know that she did qualify for the debate. I don't know that the standards have actually been released. If she does, maybe it would be nice, because in all the times that she was on the debate stage, she did not attack Joe Biden. She defended him on his support of the Iraq War, which is like, if there's a candidate that could be attacked on an issue by someone who is perfectly placed to attack them on that issue, that was the thing, and she didn't do it. So we'll see if she ends up on the debate stage. But honestly, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. I want Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden on the debate stage. That's it. I don't want it muddled with other people. Okay, so I could be wrong. You're saying she did qualify. She has 1 delegate. I don't know that the standards are still the same, that the 1 delegate necessarily for this next debate qualifies you. I understand that for past debates it did. I don't know for sure. Maybe you've seen otherwise. But in any event, like, look, just like I was saying a second ago about the state of the race from Bernie's point of view, I'm not going to lie to you. Tulsi Gabbard is technically running. She's not a candidate for the presidency. She's just not. If she makes it on the race on the debate stage, she makes it on the debate stage. But from the point of view of a supporter of Bernie Sanders, I want him debating Joe Biden. We need that. We need that dichotomy. We don't need 30% of the time going to literally anyone else. And I include Elizabeth Warren with that as well. Okay. Harum says, if I donate enough money in the DNC frauds, Bernie, will he walk in TYT's direction and start another party like Farron Cousins was talking about? So here's the thing. So there's 2 points I want to make out of that. One, no, he's never going to run as a third-party candidate. He's been incredibly consistent about that. I know that people don't want you to say that, but he's been incredibly consistent. Will somebody start one? Maybe. But I would say one of the good things from the past 24 hours is, dude, Kenny, I got a million topics coming up on the show. This is what we're talking about. That's not on the show. Is that the chance of a brokered convention or a contested convention where Bernie comes in with a lead and they give it to someone else, that looks less likely. It looks like at this point we're going to have an honest-to-goodness race between 2 candidates, and one of them will win. So look, if Biden wins, if he gets the most delegates, he will have certainly gotten a massive assist from the media and probably $600 million of Bloomberg spending, but at least we will have a winner. I think that the odds of it being taken from Bernie, who has a lead at the convention, and handed to some, 3rd or 4th or 5th place loser or someone who didn't even run, I think that's far less likely. So we can be frustrated about what this race is going to look like, but at least it is a race in some form, which, a week ago, all of the candidates other than Bernie were saying, yeah, we're going to run, but we're really just hoping to take this thing away in the end. It looks like we have gotten away from that at least, although God only knows what'll happen in a few days. Anyway, I would continue talking, but we've got the show coming up. I got to go talk to JR. Thank you so much for joining me. It's going to be an awesome show. Benjamin Dixon is going to join us for a couple of blocks, so I will see you then.